Welcome back to the podcast. I am super excited about having my very good friend Shabi be on because, quick story, when we first met, we were at the park, our kids are friends, and I have this funny little tactic that I use. Shabi remembers. And I will talk about vaginas and pussies the minute I get into a group of women, because I actually am quite introverted and I like to keep a really small circle. And it is the literal quickest way to see who leans into that and who doesn't.
Quick way to weed people out.
Exactly. So she was sitting on a blanket. I come up to her and I don't remember how it came up, but I said something about like a cervical orgasm or a pussy or something.
I almost feel like it was something about the voice and the vagina.
Oh, it was deep throating.
Deep throating.
I said I don't have a man in my life and I'd really like to do some deep throating because my throat chakra is blocked.
That's what it was.
And the other women completely froze. Okay, this is where body language comes into play because they got really uncomfortable, obviously, because who the fuck talks about deep throating when you first meet somebody? Shabi does, and I do. And I do that deliberately to see, because there's always going to be like one person in a group of people whose eyes light up and they lean in and you were so excited. And I was just like, that's a friend. Like, I don't even have to get to know this person. I already know that she is a friend. And then it turns out that she's also an extremely well-qualified therapist that has helped thousands of people. She's so down to earth. She works with trauma, depression, love, relationships. And not only that, but she has been in a long-term relationship with her husband, with kids, and still has a thriving sex life.
Yes.
That is so fucking rare.
I know. I know.
I know. And so I don't know anybody that has that. And so because I work with dating, I work with relationships, I have my new course called Attraction Mastery, which we were just talking about, which is polarity secrets for a lasting connection, right? Sex life. It's for the masculine polarity, meaning men in the relationship, of like what biologically really turns a woman on, because it is a biology. And so Shabi here has mastered this in a relational form. She has all of like the lingo, the background, the therapist mindset to be able to talk about it in like a really articulate way. And if you want to work with her, I'm going to put the link to that below somewhere in the description, as well as Attraction Mastery and some other ways to work with us.
Lovely.
Yes. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us about your like sexual journey in your relationship. What has that been like? I'm sure there's been ups and downs that has kind of landed you in this place where you really feel in your feminine. You go open and receptive to sex, even in a long-term partnership, even with kids, and your man is really in his masculine. Like, just does anything you want to share about that?
Well, I had my several boyfriends before I met him who definitely caused their share of trauma around sex and all of that. And then I actually met my husband when I was 21. And he was 25. I was in college. He had already graduated, and we just hit it off and started dating. And it was like a short sort of dating chapter for us when we were there, because he moved to Chicago to go to grad school and we were going to break up. But we just had this really intense attraction to each other. And right off the bat, an incredible like sexual attraction and sense life. We're actually talking about this last night. I think the thing that made him so different and so special in terms of like, it set him apart from all the other men that I had been with, was that he enjoyed the journey. Like, he never rushed me. Like, we started off, I think, for like a couple of weeks where we were just making out. Like, that's all we did. We would make out, and then he would come over and he would snuggle, and we would like cuddle all night. We wouldn't have sex. We wouldn't do it. And then I was like, what's wrong? Like, does he like me? Does he not like me? Because I was usually used to guys, like, as we're kissing, like pushing my head down and, my blowjob.
Yes.
Like, no, I'm not ready for that.
Right.
Like, not a turn off.
So even just like pausing there, because I have been in that position many times too. And I find that as a female, and especially like just, I'm in touch with my sexual side, I really like sex, that there always is a part of me that I want to lean into that. And of course, and then there's a part of me that's like, but is it too soon? And so to even have a man hold the boundary, like we're literally just going to be dropping masculine traits throughout this whole thing. And it's not masculine traits of like, you need to do this to be better. It's authentic masculinity. Totally. This is how you are hardwired biologically. So even in the beginning stages of dating, that's so great because that lights me up. Like a man that doesn't push it. And, even in a long-term relationship, like a man that can hold his center and let the woman come to you, like I get so turned on. So when I'm teased, when I'm not being pressured, when I get touched without only leading the sex, and it turns me into like a cat. Like I want more and I'm like seething with desire. So go on.
Well, I think this is what men don't really understand about like female sexuality is that you have to wait to enter a woman or whatever, like to engage in that sexual experience. You have to wait until the woman is dying for it.
Yeah.
Like, wants it, like so bad. Like, yes, you want to be like, like seriously, like, please. Yes, enter me or like whatever. But men don't get that. They think that the more they push, like the faster we're going to get there. But it's like the opposite, Like let us salivate over you. So he did. I mean, it took a few weeks. I was like, what's going on? Like I couldn't wait at that point.
Yeah.
To like take his clothes off. Yeah. That was the whole thing. And his whole mentality was, and like this is him being in his masculine, like, we're going to get there. Why the rush? So high. Like, we're going to get there. I want to enjoy every step of this. I'm not in a rush. Let's keep this innocent as long as we can.
Right.
We're like, getting to know each other. And it's fun. Like, it was fun sort of going back to like the high school stage of just like making out for like hours and hours. It just sort of, I don't know. It just like the buildup was amazing.
Yes.
And then when it was finally time and everything was right and it felt whatever, we were both ready, he was also really patient and cool with that. I was a little shy and super in my feminine and like in that sort of like, I know, just a little timid or whatever. And he like laid down and he covered his face and he was like, go inspect my body. Go check out my penis. I was like, whoa,
that's pretty bold for a 25.
I know. And I felt great because I was like in my own space without him watching me and was able to just sort of like do an inspection.
Yeah.
To be honest. And we're like, please, I know. I was like, what's going on down there? Let me check things out. Right. Like, are there things that I need to be aware of? Totally. Are there like any STDs that I want to like check out? And by doing that, I was just so much more comfortable.
Oh,
so much more comfortable.
I've never heard of someone doing that in that way before.
I know. I mean, we were young and we were kids, right? But like the image of that is just, he was so confident with himself.
Yeah.
He wasn't shy. He knew that in order for me to be comfortable, these were things that he perceived that I may need.
Yes. And so this is another concept that I talk about a lot, which is that needy energy from a man when they are requiring the woman in dating or relationships, but when they're requiring the woman to act in a certain way so that he feels good about himself, so that he feels confident, so that he feels like he has a high self-worth, that is a icky role for a woman to be in, which is why I'm always coming back around to shadow work for the man, because if you have that need, the need is not bad, right? The need is I need to feel confident. I need to have a high self-worth. But if you're seeking it externally, it's not going to translate in a dating relationship way, in an attractive way. And so the shadow work allows you to put your awareness inward and kind of repair the broken parts, quote unquote broken, because nothing we're ever really broken, but broken parts inside of him, so that he can come from wholeness. And it sounds like that's what your guy did, is like he showed up from a place of wholeness. There was no neediness. He was okay if you were like, I don't want to have sex and I want to go. It wouldn't have disrupted his confidence. And that puts us women in a really feminine and a highly sexual space. Because I do think that women have really high sex drives naturally, like really high sex drives. And there's these certain things that happen in dating and relationships that cause us to shut that down over time. And it's not, obviously, it's not your fault. It's not like the man's fault. A lot of it is their past experiences and their past traumas and the relationships that they've been in, or how many times have their head been pushed down and they've been like, well, I guess I'll do this, that there's a part of me that doesn't want to. And so when we collect those experiences as women, you put up a guard, whether we want to or not. So that's really cool that he did that.
Yeah. And I think just like going from then on, I think it just became like us really becoming comfortable getting to know each other's bodies. And I had told him at that point that I never had an orgasm during sex. Like I had orgasms, plenty of orgasms, but never during sex. So it became his mission.
Wow. I don't know.
And I mean, like, and it happened so fast. Yeah, like, because of all of those other things. Yes, right? Like, it wasn't this forced, contrived, like, horny, like going through the motions of what it should be or what you're told that it's supposed to be or whatnot. It was very organic. It was very connected and in tune. And I started my more lessons where I fucking never stopped. Yes, I legit. This is amazing. And this is another thing I think that sometimes men don't realize is that when you can become that type of lover for a woman, she's not going to leave you. No, because it's really hard to come by.
It is. Absolutely.
One of the things, and this might be a little weird, but like one of the things that added to that carnal lust was the pheromones. Like we have this attraction to each other's smells, it's sense. And even when we're mad at each other, or even when whatever it is, like when we breathe each other in, it's just like, that's it. Like,
wow. I love that. And that is so true. I mean, pheromones do have a lot to do with it. Like, there's so much that goes into attraction. And I know for me, like, I have ended things because their smell wasn't quite right.
Totally.
And I have, I've actually thought about this because I am not sure if that's just like a biochemical match, if there's something from my animal body that's like, hey, this person is just not it for you, or if I am smelling a disruption in their gut that I don't like. And I really don't know which one it is.
It might be a combination of both. I mean, like, there are times where our scents don't quite match up with each other. We know that something's off based on, like you said, like gut or health or whatever. But for the most part, I mean, like, we're just so attuned to each other in that way.
Yes.
So everything becomes sensual somehow.
Yes.
Which is awesome.
It's so awesome. And you said something interesting. You were like, the type of man that your guy is, when he can become that kind of lover, a woman will never leave him. So can you step by step that? Like, what is he specifically bringing to the table in the bedroom sexually and maybe even non-sexually, where you're there, you're committed?
So I think the way that he approached sex in the beginning was so different than anybody I had ever been with. It was so rare. It was so like gentlemanly, like there was just something so respectful about that like experience that already set him aside. And then his confidence around what I had explained before, like his body and my body, and making me feel so comfortable and being so like positive about everything. And I could just feel that he was confident. Like he earned his confidence through his life and like the things that he did. And it's not that he didn't have traumas. He has plenty of trauma. And it's not that he didn't have shitty relationships. He had plenty of that, like really much, of course, stuff that happened to him.
Yeah.
But I think he got to a point where he was like, you know what? I am going to be happy with or without a relationship. Like, women don't define my happiness or my life. Wow. And I actually had the same thing that happened. I had gotten out of a really abusive sort of relationship. And I was in a place where I was like, I was free. I didn't want anybody. I wasn't looking. I just like was so happy to be like free of all that. And that's when we happened to meet. So we were both coming as these like people who were needy.
Yes.
Like we didn't need the other person to define us. We didn't need the other person to like bring us happiness or joy. We already had that like in and of ourselves. And this was just sort of like a bonus. Like it was it's like, yeah, this is cool. Let's hang out. And then it just started to, because we were authentic, because we were ourselves, and we both felt that because we can both smell inauthenticity. And that's like the biggest turn. And nobody was playing a role. We were just who we were. And we were able to connect.
You said so many good golden nuggets, especially around the authenticity piece. And I'm always saying authenticity is the hottest thing ever for so many reasons. It's magnetic. It's novel, meaning like not a lot of people are truly authentic. And what she's actually explaining, like what I hear from you, is that you guys were in the vibration of wholeness.
Yeah.
So not neediness. So when we're in the vibration of neediness, our consciousness is split. It's fragmented into two. And so we have the part of us that is protecting the vulnerable self who has the needs, and then the massive self who's trying to manipulate to basically get those needs met. And this is where a lot of trauma bonds can come from. If you keep attracting the same type of relationship that is not what you want over and over again, it's probably because you're not showing up as whole as you could be. You're still reacting, right? So anytime we're reacting to a fragmented consciousness inside of us, you are in your animal self. You're not in your human self. You're not in your free will. You're not choosing and seeing the bigger picture. But I love that you guys were separately in a place where you felt whole. You were living and breathing wholeness. And so vibrationally, when you came together, you were a match for wholeness, which allowed for that human part of you that is so intuitive and collaborative and creative and can see the bigger picture and deeply authentic. That was your building block of a relationship. And that's, like you said, that's probably why you guys still have such an amazing relationship. You started from such solid ground. Not to say that people can't meet in some kind of a bond and grow through it, but it's challenging. Takes a lot of, any relationship is challenging, but I just kind of see them as two different paths.
Absolutely. I think, nobody is completely like perfect and good and done and healed in every single way. And therefore that like, if you're not, then you're not ready for a relationship. It's not that. It's not that. It's not that at all. Like we had our own shit. Like we still have shit. But there's like a contentness within ourselves. Like we don't feel like we're gonna, at this point, maybe it's different because now we have like a whole marriage and like a family and whatnot, but we didn't feel like we were gonna die if the other one left us. Like left the other, right? Our self-esteem, our self-worth, all of that, like it was not based on the relationship. It was not based on the other person. It was like we were working on ourselves as people.
Right.
And somehow, even with all the traumas and stuff, we were actually, interestingly, able to help the other heal those parts of themselves.
Yes. Yeah, which is the beautiful part of being in a relationship. Yeah. There are certain relational wounds that we have, meaning wounds that happened in relationship in the past, usually childhood, that can actually only be worked out in a relationship.
Totally.
You can't do it on your own.
Totally.
It's a relational one. And we are such a dependent species.
Yes.
We're a tribal species. Like we need that.
Yes. And that's what happened for us.
Yeah.
So we were both like open to being that for each other. We showed up for each other in those ways. And I think those are the things that created such a like strong bond. And believe me, we had so many breakups and like getting back together was where not because of the relationship at all. It was because we were young. Like we had things that we needed to do. Like he needed to go to grad school. I needed to work. I wanted to travel. We had already traveled. Like he wanted to start his career. Like neither one of us were ready to settle down at that point in our lives. So there was tumultuousness too. But I think each time we separated and perhaps we even dated other people, we just realized what we had, like how pure and authentic and healthy and supportive and like sexually satisfying it all was.
Yes. So let's get into the sexually satisfying piece a little bit more. I would really like to hear, what's it actually feel like to you when he is really taking ownership of his masculine energy, when he is leading the relationship, when he is in that masculine pole? What is that actually like? I feel like that's so important for Ned to know how much of an impact that has on our bodies, our hearts, our vaginas, everything.
You know, the first word that comes to mind is like, I feel safe and taken care of.
Yes. So you guys can't see her, and also you're not a face reader, but her pupils just dilated, even just saying that. I feel safe and taken care of. And it's interesting because that is the biology, whether you're having children or not, whether it's 2025 or not. Our biology is that women are responsive to emotions, and we therefore are vulnerable. And when we get to be vulnerable, when we get to be in that soft, surrendered place, we're happy.
Oh my God.
We feel good.
Yeah.
We want to play and have services, deep throat cocks. Oh, yes. And it's like, it is a natural state for us. However, we also make our own money. Mm-hmm. And so we can provide for ourselves. We, like, I don't have a man around, and that puts me in a masculine role, but like, I don't necessarily require a man to take that protector role. And so when a man can show up in the relationship emotionally, with our hearts, with our bodies, sometimes financially, or just there's so many spectrums of how we can honor, or rather how a man can honor the biology of causing us to feel safe and protected.
Absolutely. I mean, it's even just in the words that he uses throughout the day, or like how he makes me feel throughout the day. Like, sex doesn't start in the bedroom.
No. Well, yeah, talk more about that.
Yeah, it doesn't. Like, it's not like for men it does.
Yes.
Right? For men it doesn't. They're like, oh, like, I feel sexual. It's ready. I'm on. Let's do this. Yeah, right away. There's no transition. It's just like, let's do this.
Right.
That is not how women work.
No, and I talk about that a lot in my course, Attraction Mastery, where, yeah, it's like the foreplay and the leading up, and it's so much outside of the bedroom that actually funnels into us just being these like open, surrendered, feminine women that like to fuck a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like with him, first of all, he makes me feel sexy every single day, all day long.
I love
like all day, like from the moment we wake up, it's like, you're so beautiful, you're so sexy, you're so amazing. We are constantly kissing throughout the day, to the point where my kids,
yes,
they have this thing that they do every time they catch us kissing. They go, smoochie kiss alert, smoochie kiss alert. That is happening literally all day long.
I love that. So that is just like anecdotally, that is so rare for a couple that has been together that long that still wants to kiss, like with tongue. Because it's so sex. I feel like sometimes kissing is more intimate at sex.
It is, honestly. But it's like the best. I mean, it's the best. Like, kissing is, I think, everything. Like, the eye contact, the tasting each other, the kissing, the teasing, like all of it. Right? So we're just doing that throughout the day. I love all day long because we enjoy each other. Like, it's genuinely like we enjoy each other.
Yeah.
And then the kids leave the house to go off to school, and he's like pushing me against the wall, like really kissing me again, teasing me, or I'm like, grabbing his ass or his cock while he's like washing the dishes all day long. Yeah, like we're just like love playing all day long.
Play, because you cannot be in turn on and stress at the same time. You have to be in play so that part can come online.
Yeah.
Outside of kink dynamics where BDSM, where there's maybe some more stress, that's like,
sure. And that's fun too, but like that's in its own sort of, that's a thing. That's a right. That's a thing. But like, this is just honestly like, I mean, the best way that I can put it is we really just like each other. Like, we're best friends. We look forward to seeing each other every single day. We look forward to having our sleepovers every single night.
Oh,
like, I literally, like, it's the best. I don't know how else there's nobody else I'd rather do anything with.
Wow.
We're like truly partners in everything that we do.
And it's so obvious even spending time with you guys.
Is it?
Yeah. Well, I think so. Yeah. There's a palpable connection. And I'm not like, I didn't see you guys like necessarily make out.
Right.
Because you're not demonstrating that.
Sure.
But there's a palpable connection. Like even I'm remembering we played like Dictionary. It was life. Yeah. We played life. And they were touching.
Yes.
Like you
did all the time.
You softened into him. And I know you as a mother and I know you as a therapist, which are both masculine roles, right? So this is a funny thing because this has actually come up with my clients a lot. And actually, I'm curious to hear what you think about this. Is that a woman who is a mother, even though the mother is a feminine archetype, the mother is a masculine role because the children are dependent on the mother.
Totally.
And so it's really difficult for women, I think, to switch out of mothering role and into sex goddess or, surrendered, submissive, whatever, or just any type of sexual role is so difficult. So has he struggled with that? And is there anything that your man does that helps with that? Because so many women, myself included when I was married, struggle with that.
Hell yeah.
Like, I don't even have an answer.
Of course, everybody struggles with it.
Yes.
So, of course, it was much harder when they were little and I was much more frazzled. But
of course,
yes, I'm in charge of these kids every day. When they get to school, what they're wearing, what they're eating, what their activities are, how they're fighting with each other, all of that, right? So I am in work mode with them all the time, and it is stressful. But what he does, which is really great, of course, he is in tune with me. So when he knows when I'm getting really frazzled, he'll sort of step in, which is awesome of him. Mm-hmm. Or he'll diffuse things with humor and being silly, which is really great.
Yeah.
But another thing, he did it just this morning.
Yeah.
I came into the kitchen and I was like, these kids, they're so annoying or whatever I was saying. And he just grabbed me. He hugged me.
Yeah.
He kissed me. And he was like, I got you. Don't worry, you're amazing. Okay. I love that.
Yeah, because, and I have this again in the course, he is caring for your nervous system.
Exactly.
He's the masculine pole because you're feeling emotional. He's not leaving his center to meet you in your emotional space.
Yes.
He can remain actually in his logic and see, my woman is emotional. I'm going to grab her, right? So physical contact.
Yes.
I'm going to take her, care for her nervous system, give her words of affirmation and a compliment and say, I've got this. Are you kidding me?
Is there anything sexier than that?
There's nothing sexier than that. Because I think really deeply feminine women, we kind of want to be put in our place by someone that we trust.
Definitely.
Because we are crazy.
Yes, we are.
You know what I mean? Our emotions are like this. And so for a man to come in and just be solid, it's okay, just take me.
Totally. And all my life, I have been told that I'm crazy and I'm too much and I'm so intense and I'm a blah, blah, blah. All of these fucking narratives, right?
Right.
And what does he come and do? I love your crazy.
Oh.
It's not crazy, it's passion.
Yes.
I don't want anything other than that.
Yes.
I've got you. You don't scare me. I can handle this.
Wow.
He is the force. If I have the wind, he's this stable force. And he's I can take it.
And that's what polarity is. Yeah, the wind and then the stable force. That's just one example of polarity of he's holding it down. You're doing this, which the narrative we could call crazy, but it is actually passion and it is you being in your feminine. And when that polarity is solid, then good sex happens. Great sex. Great. Yeah. Long-term, lasting, thriving sex can happen. So for a man to be able to hold that state, he has to travel into his internal kingdom of pain and have a relationship with his emotions. He has to have a handle of what's going on inside of him. Otherwise, the wind of the feminine is going to knock him off balance and he's going to stumble and then the polarity dynamic is off.
Absolutely. And that it is, to his credit, him being in touch with his feminine.
Yes, exactly. That's what it is. Yes. I just did a video on this on men's shadow work. Exactly what it is.
He can be emotional. He can be all of those things, right? And he's not afraid of that, and he's not ashamed of that. And he embraces all of that too, right? He's a softie in a lot of different ways. But because he's in touch with that, then he's not afraid of money.
Exactly.
You know, perfect. And I think one of the most important things that we have done is that we have been committed to growing and to like growing together.
Right.
You know, like doing things together, having experiences together. Well, we have had ruts, like especially when the kids were little. Like that is a big rut. And I think that's a rut every parent goes through.
Okay. Yeah. I think that needs to be said.
Like every marriage, even the best of them, never marriage. And the important thing is to remember, and this is a hard thing to remember when you're a new parent, is that we think that when the children are born, all of the love and energy has to go to the children. And oftentimes the marriage gets forgotten. But it's actually the opposite that needs to happen. It's that the marriage is the primary. Wow. The marriage is the primary relationship. When there's love and connection and affection and safety between the husband, the partnership, all of that love and safety trickles down to the children.
Yes.
But without the marriage, everything falls apart. Or not even marriage, just partnership. Everything falls apart. So, but when we become new parents, all of that energy gets focused on the kids. Oh, I'm too tired for you.
Right.
Right? Like, oh, I don't have the energy. Oh, can't you just take care of yourself? It's like, no, none of us can take care of it. That's why we're in a partnership. Like, that's the kids get enough. I promise you, the kids get enough. They get more than enough. What doesn't get enough is the partnership. So I think like we always made it a point to do things together. So early on in the relationship, we have 2 kids. They're 10 and 7 now. But we made it a point to go on vacations. And
Fuckcation.
some vacations.
Did you hear that? Take notes. Fuckcations.
Yes.
Yes.
We had vacations.
Great.
Like every couple of months when we felt like we were disconnected or getting grumpy or just needed to reconnect with each other, we were lucky because my parents were, they were available to take care of their kids, which not everybody has, I get that, but fucking pay for it if you can. Because it's literally going to save your marriage. So, what's more expensive, hiring a babysitter or a divorce? Like, honestly,
That's such a valid question.
really. So, every couple of months, if we could pull it off, sometimes, it was like more months than we intended, but we would plan something, even if it was in town. Or the kids would go to somebody's house for a sleepover and we would have the house to ourselves. But we looked forward to it. It was the build up to this vacation, right? He would buy lingerie that he wanted me to wear. We would pick music that we wanted to listen to and anything sexual that we wanted to experience, new, that we wanted to try. Sometimes we would want to do drugs. Yeah, that was great. Whatever it was. And so it was just this special reconnection time that we had with each other. And then we would come back and miss the kids, which was great. Yeah, everybody needs to miss their kids. The kids would miss us, which was also great. And we were rejuvenated. We were flirting with each other again back from the house and being fun again. All that energy would come into the house again. And the kids would feel our love, which makes them feel safe and protected in this family unit. Right. So that was a really special thing that we continued to do. And then, Kim and I don't know what led us to that, but I felt like my sex drive was changing.
Okay.
And I was like, what the fuck is going on? I'm too young for this. I'm too young to allow my sexual life to die. And I think a lot of women are very sort of passive around that, or they're just whatever, I'm just tired, and then this is normal. This is normal, and I'm getting old or whatever. It's just do you still have to have sex? Fuck yes, you still have to have sex.
Yes.
Absolutely. That is what keeps you young. That's what keeps you vibrant. That's what keeps you alive.
Right.
And so when I started to find that my sex drive was changing, I looked under every fucking rock to figure out what the hell was going on.
Wow.
I went to the doctor. I was like, do my blood work. I want to know, like, what can I do? Do I need to take testosterone? Do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? Everything was like normal. Okay, well, let me look at this. Let me look at that. And then I came across Kim and Army. And I was like, oh, you're going to rejuvenate my sex life? Great. I'm going to pay you money. Yeah, teach me how to like rev my sex life back up again. And it wasn't that I didn't want to. It's just that it was different than it was before.
Yeah.
Like in my 20s or even 30s, I could like get in the mood a lot faster.
Mm-hmm.
Even still though, like it's not like I would say no, because sex is always a good idea. Like once you do it, right?
Right.
It's just getting started is sometimes hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have like your checklist of things, all of the things that need to sort of like fall into place for a woman, especially in order for all the stars left to align. You gotta see.
And I've heard even like women think horizontally. So we see everything and we can't like manage it or organize or prioritize it as well.
Yes, absolutely. Or like, I was wondering if it was like my ADHD, like kind of just not focusing in, like what's going on. And so I treated that. I took vitamins and I went to like an acupuncturist and I literally did everything. I was like, this is not going to happen.
So, and that's rare. Like that, I feel like what you did is rare. Probably, I would imagine partially because you are connected to your body. You're a healthy feminine woman. And also partially because of this whole sort of overarching theme of like your guy has from the very beginning made sex a very pleasurable, very safe, very explorative, and you can't live without it kind of thing. Irreplaceable. That was the word. Yeah, you made it an irreplaceable thing in your life because of the journey that you guys have been through. And I'm just curious, like, do you think that that has to do with it? Because I can imagine like a lot of women in long-term relationships, they have so many years under their belt of emotional resentments, not being authentic. So we're coming back to the authenticity piece and having experiences where they were having sex when they weren't ready, or variations of that, of feeling like every time they were touched, it had to lead to sex.
Totally.
Years and years and years and years of that is going to callous a woman's sex drive. And so then when it naturally dips at a certain age or after kids or whatever the case is, her desire to even want to fix it or look at it or change it or evolve with it is going to be very minimal.
I couldn't agree more. Other women, I think what this sort of like drop happens in their sexuality, they're like, okay, good. I did my I did my time. That's it. My time is over now. I'm retired. And I'm not saying that has to be like the end of the marriage, but that's the end of that like intimacy piece, which is such a big part of connection, whether it's a big part of connection for the woman or the man. Somebody in that dynamic is going to start suffering.
Absolutely.
And then that causes resentment too. And it's not just, sometimes it's the men who lose their like sexual drive and like the women are like, dying for attention in one way or another. When there's one person in the dynamic who's really suffering in that way, it leads to, I think, negative things, right? Like divorce or affairs or something else that can help like fill this void. Because at the end of the day, we still need touch. We still need attention. We still want to feel beautiful. We still want to feel wanted and desired. Okay, doesn't always have to lead to sex, but still there's like this underlying vibration of some remnants of sexuality. So, or at least what the sexuality brought to the table that then all of a sudden dies.
Absolutely. Yeah. Gosh, that is so well said. Yeah. Because when we lose touch to that sexual energy, which is creative life force energy, which I quote that from Kim and yeah, because that's the phrase that she uses. And I love that. But that is literal energy flow that gets siphoned away from like your lower chakras, from your vagina or your penis or your uterus, which has this abundance of creative energy to create and birth even just ideas, not just children. And it can lead to illness or, like you said, depression or things like that. But it is interesting that more people aren't questioning it. There's such a narrative that in a long-term relationship, the sex life dies. or that as we get older, we're going to lose touch with that part of ourselves. So I really love this conversation as a permission and as an opening of this really wide door to step into for men and women to really like look at that. Because like you said, it's an actual human need. And with human needs, what people don't realize is like we need water. Just like, so I need coffee. Yes. But then when it comes to emotional needs, we somehow create the story where we don't need those emotional needs. But the body prioritizes it the same way. You can never just wake up in the morning and be like, I just don't need water anymore. Mm-hmm. Just like you can never wake up and be like, I don't need touch and to experience the sexual side of me anymore. It's going to create problems.
Absolutely.
Somewhere.
It honestly, it like upsets me so much when people think it's cute or like laugh it off. Or like, oh yeah, we just don't have, I mean, we've been together for so many years, we just don't have sex anymore. Or, oh no, I'm like, so, it upsets me. Because I'm like, no, if this is how you're feeling about your sexual life, then somebody is not keeping up their end of the bargain. Whether it's if you're not enjoying sex because your husband or your partner doesn't know how to fuck you, that's also a conversation. That's not like, oh, that just is what it is. No, take the tantra class. Take your Pilates class. Look into something. Communicate. Share the issues. And like, when a man comes first, and then he's like, okay, now I'm gonna like pleasure my partner. He's not really in it. He's already like, he's come. He's climaxed already. There's no sexuality behind it anymore.
It becomes mechanical. It becomes mechanical. And we need that. And or at least like I do. And I have a lot of women terms. We want the emotional, spiritual merge. We want all of him on board. And that lights us up.
Exactly. So like, I mean, then the woman feels like she's a burden. She's like, oh, I can't come again. I'm almost there. And she's like, just like pressure. No, it's not like a joy thing. And right? So don't come until your woman comes.
Perfect. So write that down too.
Okay. The woman can still maybe orgasm again. Or like then when she comes, like you can come, like finish up. Like that's your time to sort of like do your thing. But when he comes first, then she's just sort of like, okay, I guess this is over now.
Absolutely.
And that's like resentment and like anger.
Yes. And so, and resentment and anger is a boundary. It's literally like I have a perceived threat coming at me. My body's going to produce resentment or anger to hold something out. And anytime we do that, we act on it, we live on that, we are withdrawing from intimacy.
Yes. Or it's this messaging that like, I guess my needs are not important here either. Like, there's so many places in my life as a woman that I am foregoing my needs for the greater good of whatever. Fill in the blank, right? And I guess sex is another one. Nobody wants to have that relationship with sex. No.
And so one of the places that we started in the beginning of the conversation, how we met, was I brought up deep throating and how useful that is to have a cock really deep inside of you because it forces you into surrender somatically in the place of the throat chakra, and speaking your truth. And I want to hear your experience and how that leads into your marriage. And I also want to share that I had first heard about that from Kim Anami, and I was in a relationship at the time. And we were in like this beautiful mansion on the water in North Carolina. I had this lover that I loved. Like I really, really loved his cock so much. I was like, well, I've never even thought to do that before, but I wonder if I can explicitly and intentionally go into the act of sucking cock in a way that where it will open up my throat chakra. And I did, and I didn't have an orgasm because I've heard that can happen, but there was so much pleasure and opening in my throat that's when I grew up on TikTok. It was right after I started creating videos on that trip with him after I'd had this experience, and I felt open and expressed. I felt safe and willing to speak more truth into the space, and I started getting more views on my TikTok channel. And I just thought, well, that checks out, and I think that's what we had said when I first met you was like, oh, I don't have a man in my life, but that's such a great thing to have. So how has deep throating showed up in your life and for you, your man, and your mom and things?
Yeah, I always find it really like funny and interesting when women don't suck cock.
I do too.
I'm like, what? And I always say this to women. Sucking cock is not for him per se. It's for me. I know. Like, the more you deep throat, actually, like, I actually really believe that the throat and the vagina are connected.
Absolutely.
Okay, like, when
They're both valves.
they are, so and they even look like each other. They do, actually, if you look at them anatomically.
Yes.
And that's why I think women moan. It's the opening, the throat opens the vagina.
Yeah.
And it's this really sort of interesting thing. It's the deep throating that all of a sudden makes me like gush.
Yes.
It makes me like,
it forces you open.
Yeah.
Because of the connection between the vagina and the throat. And women, with nuance, because there's a toxic, obviously, way one of this. Women want to be forced open.
Yes.
It sounds good.
On that note, I have noticed that I have to be in control of how deep I go and when I go.
Yeah.
And once that I start that, then he can sort of like be a bit more like part of that. Where it's like, but I need to open myself up first. There has to be safety around that. Otherwise, it's then like toxic.
And it lost that. But it is so interesting because it's such a survival thing and there's such that fine line. It's so biological. And yeah, there is so much there.
But I just don't think that it should be off the table I think women, like, give yourself a chance and explore that a bit. And with this notion that it's for you, you're not doing something for him per se. Of course, he benefits too. But the consciousness should be around, you are doing this act in order to turn yourself on.
Yeah, I love that switch, especially for any women that are listening or men that you have a partner, you want to send them into this episode. I feel like even that would be so useful because, we as women, we are givers of love and we will sacrifice and give until we're depleted and have nothing left. And then we'll give more. But flipping the script and seeing sex, viewing deep throat, and being the receivership of your partner's love physically, sexually, emotionally, spiritually, that's giving back to us. It's not something that we have to do.
Totally.
It is something that we get to do. It's something that we get to receive. It's something that we get to be in pleasure about. I think that's such a feminine state of really having the undercurrent of pleasure always be there, even with like emotional things or sometimes fucked up things or things that happen. Like it kind of reminds me of the book Existential Kink. Have you read that book? It's super good. But it's kind of like this, this fucked up thing is happening in my life. This is actually kind of kinky. So like, this is like when my ex-husband left the country and I had no running water, no food. I was pregnant. My son was eating cream cheese because we didn't have enough money to buy food. I was throwing up in a toilet and we so bad at the grocery store because we couldn't flush the toilets. Debt collectors calling like da. I hadn't read that book yet, but there was a moment, and that's why I bought that picture that I love in my room. But there was a moment where I was like, "This is so fucked up that I can't even believe it's happening to me." It was like surrender. I was like, this is destruction. I'm going to create so much from this. There was a part of me that slipped into feminine pleasure, and without that undercurrent, I would not be where I was today. I don't know what would have happened.
I totally believe that.
So thank you so much for coming. If you guys like this episode, like we were just talking, we have so much more we want to share with you, even just in terms of like how men have a feminine side, women have a masculine side, the interplay of that in a relationship. Obviously, we could talk about sex all day. So yeah, let us know in the comments, like what specific questions do you have? The more you can give love to this video or this podcast, wherever you are listening, then we will hear you and we will do this again. We'll answer your questions. And yeah, we would love to do this again. So thank you so much for listening. Again, I will put all the links below. So if you want to work with Shadi as a therapist, I will put that link. I will put Attraction Mastery, other ways to work with me, my free masterclass to get started with the shadow work. And thank you so much for listening, for watching, for being here. We hope you have a very happy sex life.
Yay! Thank you for having me. This was so much fun. I wish everybody love and good sex.
Love it.